Hello everyone and welcome back to Sudden Wealth. I hope you guys are doing very well. If you do enjoy the content, please consider dropping that like and subscribe. So today's going to be a short video. As I've said, I was not even sure if I could record until the election, but I decided to make a short video for you guys before effectively the election takes place. So tomorrow there's going to be no video. So my next video after today will be most likely Wednesday. As I mentioned before, I think what the market wants above everything is a decisive winner. I don't think the market wants to see, a drag down election through 2 weeks or 3 months, and then all of a sudden all sorts of theories will start to pop up. They're trying to fabricate votes, they're trying to overturn votes, they're trying to do this, they're trying to do that. And I think that will inevitably lead to a lot of, difficult situations within the country, if you get what I mean, during that time period. So at the end of the day, I think what the markets want the most is certainty. It's to remove the unknown from the equation and try to see where things are going. As I've said before, I'm not in the camp of, if she wins, there's no bull market for crypto or stuff like that. No, I don't think so. People forget that since Bitcoin was created, we only had 4 years of a Republican government. All the other years were under Democrats, and crypto has done just fine because crypto is linked to liquidity most of all, rather than whoever is in power. So if you think she will keep on printing money, if you think she will keep on deficit spending, if you think all of that, sure, maybe the regulatory environment will be worse. I have no doubt about it, but the liquidity will be actually probably better than if he wins. So as I've said before, I think if she wins, you get a 2020-2021 kind of cycle. If he wins, you get a 2016-2017 kind of cycle. That's been my position, I think, for months now. I think all of you are extremely bored and tired of me saying this, but I just need to push back a little bit about this notion that if she wins, basically the S&P will drop 60% overnight and all this kind of stuff. I don't think is going to be that aggressive because the dynamics underneath the financial markets are the same. Now, if you're talking to me about real economy, that's a different story. But as we said before here, the real economy and the stock market have very little in common. Going into a bit more details, also from what I'm seeing, is, as I've said before in my previous video, but last video I said, you're going to see a lot of volatility. I think what the market is doing now is pricing in the higher likelihood of she winning. This comes from the recent polls that came out. Most of them actually made me laugh. They're extremely liberal and they're extremely out of touch with all the other polls, including the other liberal polls. But the point is, because they get counted in this average calculation, it tilts the overall percentage of probability of who's going to win. Now, I'm more concerned that at this time, in the previous elections, Biden was up almost 10% and Clinton was up 5.5 to 6%. So the fact that we are extremely close leads me to believe that Trump is the most likely winner on this scenario. Will they let him win and be president? That's a whole different story. That I don't put my hands on fire for anything like that. Just check what the 14th Amendment says. We'll see. I think, look, I'm going to make the prediction a little bit later in the video, but I will let you, you'll see what I mean. So I think for the crypto space, what I am doing, me personally, is I'm sitting this one out, I'm writing it out, and I will just wait a few weeks. I think by the end of November, Bitcoin will still be above 80K, but I do think, and I've said this before, I think we are on the route for a massive volatile week. That to me has been, I've been saying this for a long time, it's not a new thing. By the way, I'm not sure if you guys seen this, we didn't cover it here, but the job reports was absolutely terrible. Nobody's talking about it. I get the feeling that after the election, all these economic reports will suddenly be much worse than expected. Call me, a conspiracy theorist if you want, but I get the feeling that there's not going to be any more meddling with the numbers, And can you call that election interference? No, messing with the numbers to make them look better over the year? I leave that one up to you to decide. Oh, around Polymarket, I think I saw a comment about this. I'm sorry, because I should have explained this a bit more clearer to everyone, okay? So Polymarket has narrowed considerably. I think he's ahead 55.45, and he was ahead last week 66.34. This was the most that I've seen. Now you ask me, what happened in a week for his support, or 5 days for his support to drop 10% and go 10% the other direction? Yes, you have a little bit, which is these newer polls, making all sorts, she's ahead in Arizona by 5%, this kind of stuff. Of course, that plays a little bit of a role. But you see, I should have said this a bit more clear. I mean, I mentioned this, but it was a bit superficial, and I recognize my mistake on this. But when you saw 66.34 about 10 days ago, 8 days ago, let's make it simple. Let's make it 65.35. If you want, make it 60.40. That is the real feeling of the market. That is the real feeling of the people, particularly with big money, around the probabilities of a winner. But when you go to 66.34 or 65.35, just from a pure risk management perspective, you have the incentive to bet on her, even if you think he is going to win. In order to, okay, if I win 200. If I lose 50. See what I mean? Actually, if the probabilities go up too far away and they narrow down enough, you can actually have both predictions depending on when you made the prediction, in which you will make money in any case. So for example, if you predicted him to win when he was 48% likely to win, and then you predict her to win when she was 38% to win, you're going to win regardless of who's going to get elected. It doesn't matter. I mean, you need to calculate how much in each bet you need to make. But even if you bet on him at 55 and then you bet on her at 40, depending on how much you bet, you can actually completely edge out your positions. And the smart money does it. So what matters the most on the betting markets is, okay, how is the betting 10, 15 days before the election? Because that will give you a bit of a better feeling on where exactly the market is. Then the last 7-10 days is more of big whales making risk management adjustment, which makes perfect sense, by the way. I'm not it's a little bit like this. Let's say you're long the market, right? But you think that there may be a big crash coming, or at least an extremely volatile period like the election, right? You can be long stocks, but you can have call options on the VIX. And the drop that you can see on stocks can be compensated by the rise on your call options in the VIX. Meaning, net, you either actually make a little bit of money, or potentially, or at least don't lose money or lose very little money. Now, that doesn't mean that you're predicting a market crash. You're just kind of positioning yourself for that. I think this is a notion that most people think that betting is you bet and you wait. Right? And this is true for the majority of the small money, right? But for the big money, the people that actually go and, buy, $3 million and make a prediction, worth of 3 million, they're very careful. So they will manage their risk as much as possible. My feeling, and this is my prediction in the election, is I think he's going to win. The fact that he survived those two attempts actually, the way that he has united so many different type of people, I think he's going to win. Now, once again, I have no horse in this race, in the sense of I don't live in the US. I'm not an American. It's not me who's going to live day to day with this decision. But I do think if she wins, that she will open up the door of a much larger conflict, particularly because she already said that her number one enemy is Iran. And I've said here months ago, back when she was announced, I said if she wins, back in July, the US will have a problem with Iran. I don't know how it's going to start. I don't know what's going to be the trigger. I don't know what's going to be the excuse. That part is up for grabs. But now that I see Liz Cheney and Dick Cheney with her, I started to see George Bush being very friendly to her. This actually quite concerns me, because now you are in a situation where if she wins, I think something will happen with Iran. I don't know what. And the question becomes, does Russia and China love Iran enough to do something about it? That's the million-dollar question. Notice that throughout her campaign, I haven't heard the word deal, treaty, peace, agreement, ever. There's absolutely no interest in that. This is the bad part for the US citizens. It's not the bad part. I mean, it's not for me, because I'm not going to be involved in this, but directly. And I hope to have enough money that if this starts spreading across the globe, I can go to a place where, I don't need to partake on any sides. But this is something, to me, that's in the cards. For sure. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe she wins and everything is extremely peaceful and everything gets taken. Look, I would love it. I would love it if that's the case. Once again, from an outsider's perspective, I'm more concerned about friendliness towards investments and peace across the globe. These two things are the most important to me. Obviously, peace is the number one, and then the other one is the investment side. Now, in terms of my predictions, and I'm not going to elaborate too much because I don't want to be accused as a conspiracy theorist. And here it is. If he needs to win, I think he's going to win. So this is, let's take it out of, I think overall he's going to win. But I think he needs to surprise a few people in some states. So there are some states that I'm looking at. Nevada, which is, increasingly less of a surprise factor, let's say. New Mexico. Virginia. And New Hampshire. If he wins any of those, and assuming that he keeps North Carolina, Arizona, and Georgia, I think he will win the election because he doesn't need the other three. If he needs at least one of the three, I think he's going to lose, because I think there's going to happen something to the nature of, we will stop counting now, we'll sleep through the night, and then all of a sudden we'll resume counting in the morning, and all of a sudden millions of votes appear in favor of her. That's my feeling. Now, I'm not saying that those votes are not real, or that, but how can I say something like that? I don't know, right? That's my feeling. If he needs one of the three, Michigan, Wisconsin, or Pennsylvania, I think he's going to lose the election. If he surprises and overtakes one of the states that nobody's expecting, like one of the ones that I just said, I think he wins. Now, will he get into office in January? I don't know. I think there are going to be people who's going to try to prevent it, and they're going to try to use the 14th Amendment. So I'll let you do the digging on that one, because I don't want to spoil everything, but this is my prediction, okay? And that's it. Thank you very much for your support. Really appreciate your time here. As I've mentioned, I will only come back on Wednesday. So thank you very much. Good luck. And let's see what the world looks like on Wednesday evening. And with that, catch you in the next one.